5-year-old male back pain, 11 Silver and Cross Patch Road.
What you want, what you want, what you gonna do when Chevy John Brown come?
Hello there, you beautiful faces. Welcome to the Fire Report. I'm Lamar. All right, so it hasn't even been 2 weeks since the ex-Dallas cop Amber Geiger trial wrapped up. And, you know, the DFW area, they're still furious over that whole verdict, you know, that went down with the Amber Geiger situation. Now, you have a whole different news situation over in Fort Worth, which is a neighboring city in the DFW area. So around 2 a.m., Jane Smith, who's a concerned neighbor, contacted a non-emergency police hotline to report a neighbor's front door that was open. And the door had been open since about 10 p.m. You know, and James called and he asked that a police officer be dispatched out to conduct a welfare check on the neighbor next door. Well, the African-American neighbor whose door was open was 28-year-old Atatiana Jefferson. Well, 2 white police officers arrived on the scene around 2:25 a.m. in the morning, and they saw the door open, and they proceeded to walk around the property. That's when this happened.
Tonight, community leaders, loved ones, and the lawyer for Atatiana Jefferson's family want justice.
She went to investigate at the window. An officer was on the other side who shouted commands, and before she had a moment to respond, he shot her to death. That's murder.
Speaking out after police released body cam footage showing 2 officers responding to a welfare check when one officer calls for someone to put up their hands.
Put your hands up! Show me your hands!
The Fort Worth Police Department saying the officer perceived a threat. The officer drew his duty weapon and fired 1 shot, striking the person inside the residence. Community leaders don't buy it.
She was in her own place and shot and killed her. That is not only unacceptable, that's murder.
There's no reason for her to be dead because there was nothing violent going on. There was no distress at this particular property.
Even the mayor of Fort Worth striking an emotional tone. This is tragic and something that should never be necessary. A young woman has lost her life, leaving her family in unbelievable grief. Questions tonight about whether the firearm found at Atatiana's home was ever pointed at responding officers. Another controversial officer-involved shooting. Just weeks after Dallas police officer Amber Geiger was convicted and sentenced for killing a man in his home. The parallels not lost on those in Fort Worth.
I called on the Fort Worth Police Department to stop this shooting first, asking questions later, especially when it comes to our community.
And Sam, what is the Fort Worth Police Department saying about all this?
Yeah, well, Kate, first, the mayor has called for an immediate and transparent investigation. We just found out from the Fort Worth Police Department they're going to be interviewing this officer tomorrow. But, Kate, ultimately, the decision over whether or not charges are coming will come from the Tarrant County District Attorney.
All right, so y'all just seen that news clip, and the police department in their public statement is basically saying that the officer who's only been on the force since April 2018 did nothing wrong, yet the cop never identified himself. I guess he was just following, you know, his training protocol, you know, the standard shoot first, ask questions later protocol. And, you know, the mayor also released a statement, and I think the mayor in her statement was just trying to ease and calm the fears and the outrage in the community. That's what I think. But, you know, so, yes, the police department is saying that the officer did nothing wrong because he saw a person standing inside the window and perceived there to be a threat, meaning he got scared, drew his weapon, and fired 1 shot into the bedroom window, instantly killing Atatiana Jefferson less than a second after yelling, "Put your hands up." You know, and after the one officer shot her, they ran into the house to try to save her. Now, after the story quickly went viral, police released the body cam footage and a 911 audio call was released.
Put your hands up! Show me your hands!
Fort Worth Police Operator M873, what's the address?
I'm calling about my neighbor.
What's going on there?
Well, the front doors have been open since 10 o'clock, and I haven't seen anybody moving around. It's not normal for them to have both of the doors open this time of night.
Okay. You know if anyone is inside?
No, I'm not sure. Both of the cars are there.
Okay, bear with me. And they're in the driveway?
Both the cars in the driveway, yes.
Are they usually home at this time?
They're usually home, but they never had both of the front doors open with the lights on. Like I can see straight through the house. When my sister woke me up, she stays across the street, and then I live on the opposite side of my sister.
Well, have an officer come by. They're already being dispatched now, okay?
Okay, appreciate it. I mean, it's just not normal for them to have both the doors open this late for that long.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you.
Shortly after this went viral, police started doing what they always do, painting a negative image around the deceased. This time they're saying Atatiana had a gun nearby in hopes of subconsciously planting in the minds of white folks and ignorant black people like we just saw in that Amber Geiger trial, you know, who are all watching this story play out to see her as somewhat of a criminal subconsciously, you know. So that means that the officer's actions was justified because she had a gun nearby. What if she picked up that gun and aimed it at the cop? So she's black, she had a gun, a crime was most likely happening, right? That's what they do. And they're doing all this in that statement just in case this goes to trial, those people can see it that way. Now, this all happened in Texas, which is an open carry state. It's definitely not uncommon for residents to have guns in their homes. Hell, some Texans have guns hidden all over their home, just in case the government try to come and take away their guns. They'll be armed and ready. But that's a different video and a different topic. All right, so in all seriousness, you know, they have not released the officer's name, but this investigation has been turned over to the DA, and the DA will determine if there's any charges that are to be filed in this particular incident. Now, that's not comforting news, as the DA office has always had a great relationship with the police department. It's kind of like the police department investigating themselves, because, you know, those district attorneys, like I said, they always have great relationships in most cases with the police departments. That's why a lot of these cops end up walking. That's why citizens need to push their legislative officials harder for local independent committees or an unbiased outside organization housing a diverse group of people from the community or nationally to review these sort of cases. You know, the DA reviewing themselves, like I said earlier, it's just like the police doing an internal review on themselves, you know. And the Fort Worth police have had 6 incidents where cops have shot civilians since June of this year, with this current one being the 7th. And community leaders, they're just in Fort Worth, they're calling this straight up murder. The neighbor who called for the wellness check did nothing wrong in this situation, although I see people on social media saying that the neighbor is to blame for all this. And why didn't he, you know, personally go over and check on his neighbor at 2 a.m? How many people you know are actually going to go over to a situation that kind of looks fishy at 2 a.m. in the morning? The neighbor, James Smith, who made the initial call, released a statement to the local news, and this is what he had to say.
2 o'clock a.m., I got a call from my niece, and she alerted me that my neighbor's door was open. Both her front doors were open, which was unusual for the neighbor. So I came over to see if there was anything wrong. I noticed that all the lights were in the house were on. I didn't see any movement, so instead of going in, I went back home and I called the Fort Worth Police Department to come out and do a welfare check to make sure my neighbor was okay. 15 minutes later, I heard a loud noise, and I saw 5 or 10 police officers surrounding the house. And I don't know what happened on the inside of the house. All I know is my neighbor is dead. They came out and got a statement from me because I was the one that called them. They took my statement. They told me that the detective would come talk to me and tell me what was going on. I've yet to see it.
All right, so y'all just seen what James, the neighbor, had to say. And in conclusion, I wonder what people label James a snitch, because he's doing the same thing that Joshua Brown did in the Amber Geiger case. He's basically telling what he saw and what he heard. You know, and if this goes to trial next year, he's going to be asked to testify. And, you know, this story is just sad and it's unfortunate. Do you think that the neighbor was in the wrong for contacting the police? Do you think he should have been man enough, like some people are saying on social media, to go over there and actually check on his neighbor and see why the door was open? Maybe, you know, Atatiana had the door open because they were airing out the house. You know, who knows? But hey, let me know what you think in the comment section below. Peace. Oh man, we about to get this party started. If you made it this far in the video, do me a favor. Hit that subscribe, like, and that notification bell. It ain't a party until you subscribe. I love you for watching, and I'll see that beautiful face in the next one. Peace!